Just in the US, we have over 1,200 tracks we are providing products to.
There is groundbreaking research, development, innovation happening right here in Plymouth.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
You know, there's back and forth about how we should do this, how we should do that. It always felt like a team effort.
International people to the state of Indiana, what's their feedback?
From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. Have you ever wanted to try all the best craft beer that Indiana has to offer? Well, listen up, I have the event for you, coming to Victory Field on July 19th. It's Summerfest 2025, baby, hosted by the Indiana Brewers Guild. Listen, this isn't your average beer fest. We're talking some of my favorite breweries from around the state: Moontown Brewing, Cedar Creek, Goshen Brewing, 4-Day Race, Sun King, the absolute legends, all pouring their best stuff. They've got DJ Cruise Control spinning, yard games, and over 100 craft beers, ciders, cocktails, and beverages from all around Indiana. Check this out. If you snag the MVP Barrel Suite ticket, you get early access, whiskey tastings from our friends at Hard Truth, barrel-aged beer flights, and you can beat the heat with an air-conditioned VIP suite. If you're just there for a good time, general admission still hooks you up with unlimited 3-ounce pours of beer, cider, and cocktails. If you're the designated driver, you're covered too. Free soda and samples all the time. Go support Indiana Brewers and get your tickets to Summerfest. You can find your tickets at indianabeerfest.com or at the link in the show notes. Use code NATEFEST25, that's NATEFEST25 for $10 off any level of ticket. We will see you at Summerfest.
Today I'm joined by two incredible leaders from Hoosier Racing Tire. Joerg Burfien is the president and CEO, and Paul Menting is the vice president of sales. Joerg has been with Hoosier Tire for the last 5 years, and Paul has been with the company, I think the quote was literally forever, 1988.
Yep.
Heck yeah, I love it. And today we're going to be covering the history of Hoosier Racing Tire, the economic impact they have on Lakeville, Plymouth, and broader northern Indiana. And we're going to round it out by talking about their evolution over the last 70 plus years and what's to come in the future. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Dude, I'm pumped. So people are going to notice that we are not in Kansas anymore, Toto. We are up in Lakeville, Indiana, hanging out at Hoosier Racing Tire headquarters. It's awesome. I mean, heck of a place. This is the penthouse view up here. You can't go wrong with that. So appreciate you, Joerg, for letting us take over your office for a little while here.
You're welcome.
Amazing. So what I did want to start with is Hoosier Racing Tire. I mean, I grew up in Marshall County, right down the road. I know a lot about the history, and it's been around for over 70 years. And so, Paul, you've been with the company for a while. Could you take us back to like the early days in the history of the Newton family and how things got rolling?
Yeah, sure. I mean, how far we want to go back?
Well, it was in the late, or sometime in the 50s when the company started.
1958, Bob and Joyce Newton. Bob was a racer and decided, I want a competitive advantage out there, and he thought he found a way to do that by recapping regular street tires and putting different compounds on them to make them faster. So we found a company over in Ohio called Mohawk Rubber, where they would take rubber and put it on his carcasses. So for a long time, he was driving over to Ohio in his pickup truck, having tires recapped with these different compounds, bringing them back, and he found out that not only could he use them to race, he could sell them. Other people wanted them. So that's how the company started, out of a garage in South Bend. And then in Thanksgiving of 1978, Mohawk called him and said, we're out of business. So we had to find a way to move forward, and he and Joyce, his wife at the time then, they decided to mortgage their farm, literally mortgage a farm, and build a tire plant in Plymouth, Indiana. So that's where it started, 4 presses in Marshall County in Plymouth, Indiana, and started curing our own race tires out of there, and the story has grown ever since.
They literally bet the farm on racing tires. That was the early days were in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what year or around what time frame they bet the farm?
1978.
1978.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was like going over to Mohawk for a lot of time there.
Quite a while.
And then so in 78, they opened up the factory in Plymouth. And now today headquarters is in Lakeville. How did those two places kind of get tied in?
So our sales offices are in Lakeville, and that's where all of our product management, IT, finance is all located here in Lakeville. But our manufacturing has always been in Plymouth.
Okay.
And so the reason they did that was at the time they thought there was a tax benefit, there was possibly separating liability, these type of different things. So they separated the 2 companies. They made the manufacturing company actually started as R&J Manufacturing, which is Robert and Joyce. manufacturing, and Hoosier Racing Tire was a sales entity.
Ah.
In 2012, we brought all that together, and it's all Hoosier Racing Tire now.
Gotcha.
But our manufacturing in Plymouth has always been in Plymouth. That's where all of our race tires are manufactured, always have been. And we've grown now to, we used to have 2 different facilities there for manufacturing. We had a radial tire plant and a bias tire plant, and we put that all into one right around when we were in the Winston Cup. So right around 1990, 91, we put all that into one manufacturing facility, and that's where we are today.
Early days, 78 till, you said Winston Cup in 1990. Like, what kind of racing tire, what was like the first product that was really taking off and like gaining national recognition?
Well, we started in, our roots are in the oval track business. So oval track dirt, oval track asphalt. We started with oval track asphalt tires. That's where Bob started. That's where he was racing at South Bend Motor Speedway. And then we grew into all the different oval track tracks that there are throughout the country. So, but right now, you know, as we grew into all the different platforms, we're in drag racing, circuit racing, karting, off-road, UTV. We actually have street tires now.
So I can just put like some Hoosier Racing tires on my car and drive around?
We do. One of our newest product lines, Track Attack Pro, is a streetable tire that you can put on your Z6 or whatever car you have.
Wow.
Take it out and drive it on the street, and then take it to the track and race it if you'd like.
No way. Okay, so you joined Hoosier Racing Tire 5-ish years ago, almost 5 years ago?
A little over 5 years. I actually basically on the dot. I came January 1st, 2020.
As you kind of took over this job, president and CEO, when you were learning the history, like what were some of the facts that interested you and got you really excited to join this, amazing legacy brand?
Have a longer history with Hoosier because we also started having a partnership with these guys here in 2009. Actually, that's basically probably also the starting point for the acquisition, if I may say, because that's how we started to having a common history. Conti was looking for sponsorship opportunities. And we did, back then it was called Grand Am, now it's IMSA, the IMSA Racing. And back then I was head of R&D in the US. I wasn't in Germany, I was actually in the US. So this is my 3rd time in the US actually. Well, we did
taking jobs over here and then going back home and taking jobs over
Yes, exactly.
3rd time's a charm, that's what they say, right?
But always with Continental.
So you would take a new role within Continental,
right?
Get put over here, then take a new role back home, and then
exactly. And then actually last time was when I was here before this role, I was head of research and development for the Americas, and in that role we started to develop product together and to create the idea. So the Hoosier tires were actually branded Conti, but everything else was Hoosier. They were made here, they were built here. But we still had to keep the story alive. It's a Conti tire somehow, so we had some of our engineers trackside and they were overly excited about it. I remember we dressed them in Conti, your people, our people, and so we were creating this team starting in 2009. And we did that until 10 years. Yeah. I went back in 2010 to Europe to take on a different role there. I knew this building actually. I was here. You guys would never let me into the other facility, the other company.
That's right.
Yes, that's where the magic happens. You can't let the
exactly. And I was head of R&D, so now I was banned from going to Plymouth. Now I can. Now I'm welcome.
Little did you guys know that he has a photographic memory. So if you had to let him in there, they were gonna. But isn't that it comes full circle, right? And you end up joining in 2020 as president and CEO. The acquisition took place in 2016. So for those that don't know, you want to give like a brief overview of how that partnership came together?
Yeah, so what happened is, first of all, we had a good history together, like 6-7 years, I would say, with Grand Am. With the family situation here phasing out, basically, Bob passed away, Joyce and Marge were running the company, but also that wasn't, that's not their main job. It wasn't at the time, and they realized, I think, soon enough that it probably makes sense to pass it on, and then Conti was the most logical party to talk to first, right? Yep. And that's exactly what happened. Our CEO, our current CEO, Nico, was involved in that. Nico Zetzer was involved. He came here actually and sealed the deal with, I think it was with back Joyce, with Joyce in the farmhouse. And that's
in the farmhouse?
Yeah.
They live, Bob and Joyce have always had their residence right behind Hoosier, right here. And
we're on the farm still.
Yeah. And Nico and his team came up and they sat down with Joyce and some of our members of our team, and they came to an agreement on what that looked like. And really from the Newton standpoint, they wanted to make sure that whoever acquired Hoosier, that it would stay as a racing company and that would, long term be involved in motorsports. And that's what we got with Continental. So in 2016, that acquisition was finalized, and then in 2020, Joerg came in as president.
So 9 years, and more of half of that is with me. We did keep that promise so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you started in '88, Bob Newton. So he ran the company all the way up until when did he kind of?
Bob passed away in 2012. Yeah, he ran the company up until that point, but Joyce and Bob were always, joined at the hip in running the company.
And he kind of comes in and acquires the company. Was that a hard decision for them, for the team? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
when you bring international and local together, like sometimes that can be challenging to match.
Of course, I mean, family-owned business for all that time. The Newtons decided they didn't want to carry on with that. Tried to find the best opportunity for the company to go forward, and they felt like they put that in place. But it was a hard transition. Anytime you go from a family-owned business to a Continental is a very large international corporation, there's a lot of challenges there. But one of the things that right from the outset we found, no matter what those challenges were, there was always people within Continental that would give you the best. So yeah, there's going to be different, there's back and forth about how we should do this, how we should do that, but at the end of the day, it always felt like a team effort, and still does.
That's
to this
awesome.
day.
Did Continental have other Indiana presence?
We have a facility in Valparaiso. We have one.
Okay.
We have one in Auburn, Ohio. We have a big office in Fairlawn, in Akron. So yeah, I mean, Conti is pretty
I was
widespread.
going to say, I thought I knew that there was a space in Valpo. I didn't know about the Auburn one. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Indiana experience or Indiana presence. But then the cool part about this is that it's not just like you didn't slap Continental on the outside. Like the branding outside is still Hoosier Racing Tire, which I think is super cool because there is 70 years of history in racing. Like we were talking about this before. Like when someone races with a Hoosier Racing Tire, they just call them Racing Hoosiers. Like that's really, really cool. And I don't think that a lot of the audience or a lot of Indiana realizes the global impact that's coming out of Plymouth and Lakeville. Like put it in perspective, like how many tires, like this isn't just like racing at South Bend Speedway or Plymouth Speedway. Like this is being raced all across the world.
Yeah, I mean, just in the US, we have over 1,200 tracks we're servicing, or we are providing products to.
1,200?
Yes.
Yeah, when you talk about oval asphalt, oval dirt racing, we have a fair majority of that business, you can say. And there's over 1,200 of those tracks in the United States alone. That's just oval dirt and oval asphalt. Then when you talk about drag racing, circuit racing, all the rest, motocross.
And karting and you name it. Right?
Yeah, so we are, the predominant tire manufacturer for grassroots racing. Are we in Formula One? No. But are we in, Xfinity Cup? No. But almost everything else, as soon as you're involved.
Yeah, and we're excited about the brand because you mentioned the branding. Yeah, it makes no sense to rebadge a brand that is established and built by performance. When I first got here, Julie is part of marketing. Yeah, and marketing didn't exist when we first started, which is a cool story because this brand is a very strong brand. Everybody in the racing community, in the car enthusiast community knows it, but there was little money spent in marketing.
It was different marketing.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
We viewed marketing as how does our tire, how does our product perform on the racetrack?
That's
That's how we go to market.
That's
And we did, traditional marketing, we didn't see the need to do that. But then as you expand into all of these different areas and you realize, wait a minute, Hoosier, the brand itself, is really valuable. And it is really well known, and we're not capitalizing on that at all in a lot of places. So that's when we introduced our whole marketing department, just to make sure that we're getting everything we can out of it.
And that was my point. So this brand was built purely on experiencing the product, on performance, which is cool. There's other marketing concepts where there's no performance, it's just marketing, right? We're the opposite. right?
There's nothing
Yeah.
behind the curtain.
So-
whereas
Exactly.
we have everything behind the
It's
curtain.
like the tires for a long time spoke for themselves, right? And it's like,
Exactly.
but then you start to realize, like, I'm a normal guy. Like, I don't race anything, but like, if I could, and like, I could just like throw it on like.
You can.
Like,
You can.
Like,
We're
when I get my
still.
sports car, I got to get a sports car
Well,
that I can rip around a little bit and
Right.
throw some Hoosier tires.
Right,
on.
right.
I do remember like, this might have been like the late 2000s, or were there like really memorable purple jackets that people wore around?
oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the puffer
yeah.
jackets. I remember there were people out in the crowd that
You're
had
being
these.
kind when you say memorable.
I remember, like, if there's still any of those lying around, like in an
He
old
has them
version.
in his closet.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure.
So I mean, if you go back in the day and look at some of our old catalogs, you know, we utilized all the people here as
Oh,
our
he was a
models.
model too.
Oh yeah, so I was a model. I didn't get a model paycheck, but I was a model. Yeah, so we had our own apparel line, and we now market our own apparel, but it's not like it was back in 1990. So.
Those things were sweet. Like, if there's a vintage Hoosier, like one of those puffer jackets lying around, I know a guy will take it off your
Right,
hands.
good.
Time continued to go, right? You make this transition in 2016, and you since then have really put the pedal to the metal, right, racing term, on, like, you're bringing new products to market. I think we talked about it a little bit before, like the UTV tire that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I mean, on side-by-sides, you can, when did that launch, or when's that going to be?
We're going to launch it this summer. So the Nemesis X is our product line there. We've got a couple of sizes that we've introduced, but the real launch will come towards the third quarter.
Oval, asphalt, oval, dirt track, UTV, street tire, like, the product line is wild. As you think, right, you talk about, okay, we're not in Formula One, but where is that place where Hoosier tires are being used, where when you see it, you have to like stop and just take it in a little bit, like, wow, it's really cool, it's really crazy that our brand and the state as well is being displayed in this fashion.
I mean, you could talk about our European operation. You
We've-
know,
yeah.
we're a global company. We sell to over 80 different countries in the world. We've got a big presence in Australia, New Zealand. But when you talk about Europe, you know, we just this last year signed the FIA
So we're the first
World Rallycross.
That's actually the first really elevated FIA series. It's one of their 7 world championships, Formula One being one of them. We have the World Rallycross Championship.
Where's that being held?
Worldwide, basically, but
Oh.
I want to say most of the races are around Europe. One was in Turkey. They wanted to have one in Canada that got canceled last minute like this year.
You say Rallycross?
Well, they could be any classic car, you know, from your Subarus to, you know, different models. That's
Your
traditional.
WRX, the Subaru WRX is like one of the chassis. You will have a Ford Focus. You will have an Audi A3 is one of the chassis.
But maybe just to give them an idea of what rallycross racing is.
Holy, those puppies?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's WRX.
Whoa.
And this series is also, to us, very interesting because it's also sustainable, if racing can be sustainable. It's electrified, 800 horsepower, 650 horsepower, different classes electrified. Extreme power, extreme torque, and some are combustion actually also. And sometimes they battle them against each other, like combustion against electric. So that's kind of cool.
Who takes that home when combustion battles electric?
I would put my money on the electric.
Really?
Yeah, as far as acceleration and
So when you guys say you're working with them, are you one of the tire offerings, or are you the tire offering?
We are it.
Wow.
We took that over from Cooper. Very late in the game, we got a call from the FIA if we would be interested to pitch, and we made it happen in just a couple of months. We developed the tire, and we had one great successful season now.
So when we see Rallycross, like all those, I feel like those are clips that end up on like Red Bull's Instagram account. Like they're like doing crazy cool things. It's just gonna have Hoosier on the side.
It does.
It does.
Already does, yeah.
Oh wow! So this will be your second season?
Yes,
That's
we're
amazing.
just getting ready for the second season.
Oh
That
my
was-
gosh, that's so cool. Do you get to go out to some other races?
Yeah, I actually before we signed, we went to meet the executives of Red Bull promotion and the FIA guys, and we went to. I was in Hamburg. Was fun.
Wow, okay. So you're making a global impact, 80 countries. I mean, okay. So that Rallycross. Are there other places where Hoosier Racing tires are being used where you're just like, man, that's
We're doing NASCAR Europe also.
NASCAR Europe.
Yeah, we're doing that in the Hoosier brand. It used to be a General brand, and so we built the tires. We just used one of our corporate brands. But for the last 4 years now, it's Hoosier branded. So NASCAR Europe it's sanctioned by NASCAR, but it's a franchise. It's owned by a French company. But yeah, it's NASCAR's. Right?
And I know that in 2023, I believe you guys were voted the coolest thing made in Indiana.
Yeah.
That's right.
And what did that honor mean to you guys, and how cool was that recognition?
That was really special.
It meant a lot, yeah.
You know, obviously, our 100% Indiana roots, you know, I grew up 7 miles up the road here. I went to LaVille High School. You said you went to Triton.
The old rivalry there.
That's right. But to get recognized in the state of Indiana as the coolest thing made and voted on by the people of Indiana to do that was really a high point for our company.
Yeah, it meant a lot. Shirts made for all the people. They were in Brits Pride. Everybody has it still.
Oh yeah. I mean, because we are a state that makes a lot of things. Like there's a lot of manufacturing from life sciences to electronics. I mean, the list goes on and on. Agriculture, and to be the number one coolest thing made, and that was kind of where I think you guys resurfaced onto my radar of I need to get in the door and talk with these people about all the cool stuff. And I had no idea the global impact and the global reach that Hoosier Racing Tire had. From a European perspective, when you see the word Hoosier, before you came to Indiana and knew what a Hoosier was, what did you think that was?
For somebody coming from Europe, the term Hoosier means nothing. When we sometimes see it, people driving down the road by our office, they go by the Hoosier golf carts. And they're like, oh, you make go-karts too. And I go, no, man, everybody in the state of Indiana is called a Hoosier.
They're like, wow, you guys
great marketing.
The entire university has you guys as your mascot.
Exactly. I like to take that credit, but no, that's not us. And then a lot of people from Europe then understand why the brand is called Hoosier, which is interesting. But funny enough, talking about branding, they think it's the tire. So I think coming from Europe, Hoosiers, race tires, yeah. If they know it, it's not anything else.
So it's things like the Indiana University Racing Tires. That's hilarious. That's so true though, because you talk about it's synonymous with that racing tire overseas for people who know racing. That I just think that's so cool, and I always there's a lot of videos or whatever where it's what is a Hoosier? Everyone has their own opinion of what this is, where it's come from, all those things, and it's people in Europe or maybe even part of Continental, they see it.
Oh, they don't know. People in Continental don't know. We have to teach them. Yeah. We have to educate
what a
them.
Hoosier is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when you bring international people to the state of Indiana, what's their feedback? When you bring someone, you talk about, is it Nico, the CEO of Continental, came to Lakeville to ink the deal in the farmhouse. It's what's their feedback on Indiana? You're coming from international.
A lot of first feedback probably was a lot of corn.
Fair. Acceptable.
A lot of cornfields, a lot of farming, what people perceive when they drive through the state. But other than that, honestly, coming from Europe, it's not too different. Weather-wise, this is Germany to me. It's in the summer it's nicer here. The winter can be a little bit more prolonged and harsher, but less rain. I have less rain here. In Germany, it's always a little bit of rain going on. So I think it's no different.
I think there's some, when I talk to people within Continental, one of the first things they might point out is, they know the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah.
So they obviously associate that with Indiana, and so they know Indiana to be the home of that. So for us to be, a race tire manufacturer in Indiana makes sense for some of those people. Indiana is associated with racing. So,
yeah, was there ever crossover between the Indianapolis 500 and Hoosier Racing Tire?
No, so we've never been involved in IndyCar. We have a good relationship with Doug Bowles. We do a lot at the Speedway. So they have the USAC has their race out there every year on the little track they put out there. Where they run the midgets, and now this last year they ran sprint cars as well. The BC39 is the name of that midget race.
Well, that's pretty cool to see
after
your
Brian
tires
Clausen.
At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
And they've done a quarter midget race there as well. They had a national quarter midget race there. We're also the spec tire for that. So USAC, the United States Auto Club, which is also in Indianapolis, we are the spec tire for USAC for all their divisions. Every car that runs in USAC sanctioned is on Hoosier.
And I did have to ask, when you say spec tire, I had to get, so to the people that might not know what that means, what does spec tire mean?
The spec tire is basically, we don't compete against another tire brand. So you are signed usually we pay a sponsorship fee usually to be the dedicated tire, but we're the only allowed tire to the series. Much like F1. F1's no different.
Yeah.
They have to run on Pirelli tires.
Well, you say what was the Indy 500? Are they like Firestone maybe or something like
Correct.
that?
They are.
Yeah.
They're on
And
Firestone.
they're on a
right?
spec tire for that.
Yeah.
They're contracted to run only that brand.
It helps to bring cost of racing down a little bit. It also helps us to get our cost down a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so everyone's on the same product. There's no, when you're in an open competition situation, I'm trying to make a better tire than the competitor. He's trying to make a better tire than me. That drives up costs. That makes everybody carry more inventory, have to test different tires. All of that's very expensive.
we might be testing after every race weekend with our engineering team, better specification, to improve it every weekend. And that race is ended as soon as you have a spec tire.
Like kind of back to the roots, right? Of like finding your edge and like putting the best spec tire out there, just like Bob did back in the 50s when he was trying to get the absolute best performing tire so he could clean up at the South Bend Motor Speedway.
Right.
Like that's awesome of like having such a culture of research and development. Like if you're, I mean, obviously it's very competitive, right? Racing is competitive, so you have to continue to put the best product out there.
Right.
Yeah, there's the business of racing and the price and all that, but you don't get to be the spec tire for any of these big races if you're not putting out an exceptionally amazing
You
product.
have to earn it. You have to earn it by your financial terms, but also for sure about your performance and also your service level. How well are you responding to racers' needs and to promoters' needs? So you have to perform on all levels, financially, product, and service.
Yeah, and it's like, you have to be affordable, but you have to put the best tire out on the market. So like, do you guys have like a research and development lab where like, tires are being tested?
We have a whole team.
Oh,
Sure,
is it here?
It's in Plymouth.
Wow. Okay, so this brings me to an interesting point that I want to talk about, like research and development for a racing tire in Plymouth. Like, I don't think that a lot of people, when you just think of Plymouth, Indiana, I grew up 10 minutes from there. Like, there is groundbreaking research, development, innovation happening right here in Plymouth.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
How big is like the staff, or how many Hoosiers do you guys employ?
I want to say close to 600 people. And in research and development, it's less than 100, let's put it this way.
Okay. So you employ over 600 people right here between St. Joseph and Marshall County.
And more. It's Kosciuszko County. We've got employees in the manufacturing that extend through probably 4 or 5 different counties.
Oh, some of them
all come to Plymouth or come to
Right.
work?
Right. Some people commute way over an hour. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, to work in such an innovative field, right? Like to be a part of racing. I feel like, you're right. When you think of racing in Indiana, you definitely think of like the Brownsburg, the Pittsburgh Speedway, all the stuff that's down there. But that like racing economy stretches all the way up here to Plymouth. Like that's super cool. Like, do you have like a test track? Like, are there like places you're testing tires out around here?
We don't have our own test track, but we utilize all the tracks that we're involved with across the country, across the world.
Yeah.
So our typical process would be, we do all of our lab testing, we develop a product with different materials, with different outcomes that we want to achieve, and then we take that to the racetrack and we prove it, and we tested it in closed testing, then open testing.
And we actually take it to different racetracks to make sure, because they're quite different, and we have to make sure our products, they have to perform in any environment.
So we're in
explain that.
I'm sorry, Nate. So we're in the, we're the spec tire for the NASCAR ARCA series.
Okay.
ARCA is the minor leagues to the big.
They race
three.
those at Salem.
They race them at Salem. Yep. So they race everywhere, but that's a very hard series for us from a product standpoint, because they race from Daytona Speedway to Salem Speedway. These are the tracks that they race on, that we have to have a product that fits those cars for all those different conditions. They also race on the dirt. They also race in the wet.
And
these are all the conditions that we have to be
Wait, the
prepared
ARCA,
for.
like those cars race
They race at DuQuoin and Springfield. They race on the dirt on the mile track. It's the same car. So, this is a very demanding, R&D aspect for our company, but something that we've mastered. But that's where we're taking that product, and we haven't tested that Daytona in a while, because fortunately we have a very good product there right now. But tracks change, they might repave, so you gotta go, we gotta go back to Bristol and test if they change something there. We've gotta go, we just did a test at Rockingham, because they're gonna go there. These are all the conditions that our engineers have to take under their belt and go out and accomplish.
And it may not
the right
mean,
product for.
spec doesn't mean one spec. It only means it's our product, but for different applications, like in the dirt or on
On
super
the high
speedways.
banks, right? Like
We will have a different specification for that weekend.
I did a video down at the Salem Speedway. They wouldn't let me drive a car, but I got to
You
race.
shouldn't drive a car at Salem.
Yeah, it's great, but they let me drive mini crotch rockets. So like those little tiny, we did a whole racing video, and it was awesome. And I mean, like they talked about AJ Foyt and Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, like some real legends have raced at Salem.
Right.
And so it's super cool to see another like legendary Indiana company that's like, yeah, we built tires for Daytona as well as Salem. Like that's just so cool to me. So I'm sure you guys have been to tons of racetracks. Have you been to, like, what are some of your favorite racetracks across the state of Indiana?
Well, Indiana, we're really blessed to have a lot of really unique racetracks. When you talk about oval dirt, oval asphalt, the drag strips, I mean, circuit racing, we've got it all in Indiana. Of course, the Speedway in Indianapolis. But some of the real gems are those that are, off the beaten path a little bit, like Hobstadt, Indiana. There's a circle track there that's just unbelievable. Kokomo, the dirt track in Kokomo is fantastic. I mean, we just have so many real gems for racing in Indiana.
Hobstadt, Indiana, like 30 minutes north of Evansville. This is in the middle of literally nowhere.
That's where most oval tracks are.
Oh yeah, I zoomed in on Google Maps, and it's like as I get in there, yep, there it is, right there.
Right.
That's awesome. Just off of Highway 41.
And Kokomo, you probably passed through on your way up, right?
Yeah, I did. The Kokomo Speedway, so that one's dirt.
Kokomo's dirt.
Big news from my friends over at Hope Plumbing, now Hope Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You heard that right. They are now your one-stop shop for home services, offering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. New name, added services, but same trustworthy, loyal company. They treat your home like their very own, and now that includes HVAC as well. Book your next home services appointment with Hope and mention Get Indiana, and Hope will give you a free membership for a year. A membership includes important services like whole home plumbing inspection, a free mainline drain snaking, 2 seasonal HVAC inspections, and so much more. That's a deal you can't miss out on. Call Hope Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling and start saving today. Now let's get back into the show.
Salem is obviously an iconic racetrack, as is Anderson.
Because those two are modeled off of each other, right?
That's right.
Like
And,
the high
and
banks.
Anderson has the Little 500 every year, which they run right before the big race. And Anderson's a very high banked, intense racetrack that, I mean, you'll be hard pressed to find better asphalt racing than at Anderson Speedway, which is right here in our backyard. So
Yeah, I know we did the whole thing because Gas City didn't operate last season, and they're going through ownership change and
That's
trying to figure it out. And there's a whole movement for Save Gas City
Yeah,
Speedway. And
there's-
we have to take care of these legacy tracks. Because we almost take it for granted a little bit. When you have the largest single day sporting event in the world, as well as some iconic racetracks, it's like, oh, it's just a racetrack, whatever. But there's so much history, legacy, and amazing racing that happens in small towns all across Indiana and beyond that we have to, definitely preserve. So it's cool to see you guys, the fact that ARCA races at Salem and races at Daytona and all these other places, that's just so cool to me. So as you guys think through, what's to come, right? Expanding product lines, innovation, research and development, in a world where you could go about, racing's never been hotter. I mean, maybe it has, but racing, with Drive to Survive and all these fun things, it feels like racing is up and to the right. People are really interested right now.
We discovered a couple of areas where we feel like there is a void that we can fill.
Yeah.
One of them is the street line Paul was mentioning. We just launched the Track Attack. The Track Attack idea was, let's take our race tire, slick knowledge that's really built for racing, and see how much do we have to do to it to make it just street legal, so that you can actually put it on your car. And so you can take that thing to the track every weekend and you can still drive home on it. And that's exactly what we did. We launched it at SEMA, and that was also a nice award we just got. You can see it in the hallway here. We were really surprised. First time we make a return to SEMA after almost 30 years.
What's SEMA?
The SEMA show in Vegas.
Specialty Equipment Market
There
Association.
you
It's the biggest car show in the US.
What was the award you guys won?
Best new tire product of 2025 for the entire tire industry. That's it.
Look at this thing. Holy smokes. I'm probably not throwing this on my 2005 Toyota Corolla. What kind of cars do you see putting these tires on?
Anybody who's looking for an edge in performance, and
Yeah.
I mean, you can drive around town in it, no problem, yeah. It will not last 30,000 miles because it has a high grip compound. It'll be safe enough to drive around because it's qualified for street use. But our idea was like, let's see how, I mean, in Conti we developed this kind of product coming from the street product, right? And see how much do we have to do to our street products to make it perform on a track.
So you were going the opposite direction.
Exactly.
Okay, so from Continental, they're like, okay, we have the everyday, like, you can cruise and get groceries for 30,000 miles in this, right? You're fine. You were trying to go, you guys went to the track.
We used, exactly, on the Conti side, we used our ultra high performance tires, which is still a street tire. On your new BMW, you will have a sport contact, for instance. We tried to make that trackable with some success, but we went like, let's take the opposite approach. Let's take our slick tires, see what we have to do to it to make it street legal. But the picture you just found there was a dual use, and that's exactly how we position the tire. We go street and track. You can do both. So you can
Wow. You spend a large chunk of money on a really nice car that like your brand new Corvette or whatever. And it's like, well, I want to go drive it around town, but you're probably not driving it 30,000 miles a year, right? You're cruising on Sundays. But if you want to go on a Saturday and take it out to the drag strip or do whatever, and
or you can also, yeah, exactly. Or a lot of people take it to like Gingerman's close here. It's like an hour away. Autobahn or wherever you go around here. People have to trailer the car. Picture that's my car, right? How do you put a tire rack on top of that? It was like 4 track tires. You don't, right? And I don't bolt a
GT Who. I love it.
Yeah.
That thing's sweet. Okay.
Right. So the idea was like we need to fill this void for people and put a product out there that solves these problems for you. And so far we had some great success on it.
So that's an innovation that came to market last year, 2024.
Yeah, the launch really was, I want to say this spring is.
Yeah, we just started getting inventories available for that here in the first quarter.
The official
Where
product
would
launch.
someone go and buy that at?
Tire Rack,
wow.
Summit,
Any of our Hoosier distributors.
any of our distributors. You find it online. You will find it in any Hoosier dealer should have access to it.
Okay. So, and as you think of are there other innovations coming that are like, hey, we're really excited right now? We have a kind of a hybrid, like performance and casual.
It's all about performance.
Yeah.
Our whole company is geared around performance.
Yeah.
Now, performance means different things to different people. In a spec
right.
tire environment where everybody's running the same tire, performance means repeatability, longevity, no drop off. These type of things are performance in that arena. In drag racing, where we're racing against a lot of different competition, it might be the first to the finish line, the fastest tire, or it might be the most consistent tire that I can dial in for my 9.9 or whatever my indice might be for drag racing. In street tire, in lingo, it might be just the ride comfort, the longevity, so performance means a lot of different things depending on the market segment that you're in. And we have to try to hit that performance window, whatever that market is, depending on what we're developing.
70 years building brand equity in racing, right? Like people around the world know Hoosier Tire. If you guys were to go out and just start generic street tire, buy a tire rack, $99 a tire, whatever, a lot of people would buy it, but you would dilute your brand equity.
But exactly, that's not us.
Yeah.
So
the fact that you're saying you're built on performance, like that's the sweet spot, your niche.
That's
like,
it.
We spent 70 years building up this brand. We're going to continue to build the best performing tires on the market.
Another fun example, for instance, the one-wheel boards?
I was literally, wow, you read my mind.
Oh, sorry, good catch, yeah?
Yes.
So the idea was, but this wasn't born by us. This was born by consumers in search for performance. So they figured out that our kart tires fit their one-wheel boards, and they didn't like what they were equipped with, coming like stock. The stock tire.
Was just like tinkering.
The stock tire.
Aftermarket.
Right. And then they figured for the aftermarket, hey, let's try and see if we can fit on these Hoosier kart tires. And then we
so
went
what's
like,
that a tire for?
it is that one. I don't know which one that is.
Like, what do you think? Like, what would that go on?
Like a dirt karting.
That looks like a dirt karting
application.
tire, and they figured out it fits. Okay, so we went like, wait a minute, if that's interesting. So we can do better than this. So we now developed a dedicated product for one-wheel boards.
And they can like, if you're buying a one wheel, you could be like, oh, I want the performance off road Hoosier Racing Tire.
Well, so far we are selling them in the aftermarket only. So you would have to retrofit, but yeah, that might be a path forward now to talk to one wheel and see if they would like our tire to be an option on it. But
how did this get on your guys' radar?
From the consumer.
So like tagged you on Instagram or something?
We just had a lot of sales were going to places that weren't oval dirt karting that we couldn't identify. And we eventually got to the consumer and we realized this is a whole market that we're not even clued into. They're
Like,
taking our
yes, we have a lot of
tire
them.
and they're putting this on
there were a
these
lot.
applications.
There were a lot.
Like enough.
I mean, the joke always is
And
we're
so
always
then there
ordering
were-
one tire. What's up with that?
There were a couple of dealers in California that
Yeah.
reached out to us and
Exactly.
said, "Hey, we're getting a lot of requests for the Hoosier product. You know, what should we do here? Can we stock them? Can we take them?" And that's how the whole thing grew. And from there, we said we need to develop a product line that is specific to this application.
Oh
Right.
my gosh, yeah, that's super cool. And like the iconic branding, right, of just like Hoosier right across that
Yeah.
black tire. Hoosier. I just think that's so. I mean, as I look through your guys' website, the other piece obviously built for performance, but to me, I don't know, it's just like it's beautiful. Like the product, the branding, the whole thing. The purple, I love the purple.
Well,
I'm a huge fan.
We got to get you one of those jackets then.
I need one of those jackets. Okay, so like actually, so this was how I learned, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna out myself here. So I didn't know that you guys were only like racing tires, and so last year I was I went on this mission at the Indy 500 to be the first truck inside the infield. So I got there at 10 p.m. the night before, slept in this truck. I bought a truck on Facebook Marketplace. I flipped it, like did this whole thing, and we were the first truck in the gate in the infield, and through an all Indiana tailgate. So like no international brands, like only stuff built in Indiana. And I was like, this truck needs Hoosier Racing Tires. Like it needs that like iconic Hoosier. But then I realized I had to drive it on the road, and then I did all my research. And like again, it's just been this like long process where I've wanted to talk to you guys for like a year now because I just was so fascinated. And then I got down.
What kind of truck was it?
It's an '86 Dodge Power Wagon. So this is a beast. Actually, I'll show you guys a picture of it. It was like I mean.
We may have a tire for you.
Oh.
Let's check.
Wait, really? So this is what the truck ended up coming together and looking like. We got to hang out with Romain Grosjean, and so it was this whole big thing where we worked with all Indiana brands to get inside the thing. And I was like, what it needs is we need to get Hoosier right there.
You could probably find some Pro Streets that would fit on that.
Yeah, well,
Ooh,
either Pro Streets or maybe even some bias tires. The Pro Street tire might fit. Yeah.
That'd be sick. I was talking with Doug. We're gonna do it again this year, and Doug Bowles gave his commitment that if I show up again, so I served coffee and donuts to the first 25 people behind me, like as a reward for them showing up early.
Yeah.
This year he said he'll come out at 5 a.m. and serve to the first 100 people in line with me, and I was like, to talk about just like awesome people, like Doug Bowles is a one of a kind guy.
He is, you know, and we were talking about all the racetracks and short tracks in Indiana, and, you know, he had a campaign, and I don't know if he's still continuing it, but he had a campaign of going out to those, him personally, going out to those tracks and helping them, reaching out to them if they needed any resources from the Speedway to help them with their short track operations, just talking about racing in Indiana. Doug Bowles is a great promoter of just motorsports in general. So.
I can't think of a better job for him than being the president of IndyCar, and just like it makes me sad because I hope he doesn't end up like taking away from the time he used to spend at the Speedway and here in Indiana. But he's just the best dude. I guess when you do say that, right, it kind of takes me to the point. Racing at the top, right, like Vegas, Austin, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the biggest tracks are thriving. But I guess, yeah, as we do talk about like the Salems and the Andersons and the smaller racetracks, how do you guys see that shifting, and what could we as Indiana do to support our smaller race? Did I just see the Plymouth as like, have they changed the ownership, or are they still operating even? Like
they are,
okay.
And they went from, you know, dirt to asphalt, asphalt to dirt. It's one of those situations that affects a lot of different racetracks throughout the country. But it's a great question because the short track racing in the United States is very stressed. As you can imagine, real estate becomes more and more valuable.
Yep.
And our world is shrinking. And I said, you know, these racetracks are out in the middle of nowhere, but a lot of them started out in the middle of nowhere, and now they have neighborhoods.
And then they have.
And that becomes a big challenge for them. They were there first, but now these neighborhoods come around and they complain about the noise. And
Exactly.
So a racetrack has to be very, very tied into their community, and most of them are in terms of what they give back to the community, and they're an asset for their local community. And my wish would be that for Indiana, that residents simply support those racetracks. Get out, go to a Friday night race, go there, witness it, bring your friends. That's how they benefit. When they get butts in the seat, when they create fans and they open motorsports to people who've never been exposed to it before, that's valuable. So that's how I would see supporting those tracks, and we are 100% invested in that. We try to be a good steward to the industry. We know we're a leader in the motorsports industry. Throughout the pandemic, it was very challenging for us because we know what happened there, and we had a lot of stress just manufacturing enough tires to support because everything was shut down. People were gone. Now they had to come back to work. It was hard to get them back. That experienced workforce is very important to us, and it was hard for us to replace that.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you guys think about recruiting talent, I mean, again, I'm from here. I've said it like 10 times this episode. I'm from here. I love it here. I know how great it is here. How do you guys think about that as you get people to come to South Bend, to come to Lakeville, to come to Plymouth and join this amazing team?
I mean, people who are born here, maybe it's a little bit of an easier pitch. People who are not from here, I mean, you drove up here. Lakeville is, you could almost miss it, right? If you
You could. You blink, you might miss Lakeville. That's true.
Yeah.
Or the pass too. It's like, whoops.
So we have that experience, especially recruiting people from abroad. All they do is they Google Lakeville, Indiana, and they go, where is it? And then they're like, oh, what is it? 700 is the population of Lakeville, I think. So we always have to explain to them it's more than that. It's South Bend. It's the metro area of South Bend. Plymouth is not small either, and there's more than just a little town.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like, I mean, I put words in your mouth, but it's one of those things where if you get people out here and they experience the people, they experience the community, then it's like, oh, now you understand how you can get 600 people to come and work for a company like this, because it is like Google, right? It's like, don't judge a book by its cover. At least that's my opinion on it. When I talk about, like, I love growing up here. I thought it was great, and some of my best friends, and I love spending time up here. But it's definitely, don't judge a book by its cover when it comes to that.
No, very true, very true.
Yeah. So if there were young individuals, let's say up in Notre Dame or Valparaiso University or Bethel or all the amazing universities across the state of Indiana that maybe want to get into racing, want to be a part of performance engineering, but I haven't heard of you guys. Like, what would you say to them? How can they get plugged into
just
racing?
get in touch with us. I mean, we had that conversation with their Baja club, the F1 club. They had no idea we were like down the road.
At Notre Dame?
Yes.
So there's an F1 club at Notre Dame that had no idea that Hoosier Racing Tire was 17-minute drive or less away, maybe less.
No, very true. Sadly, but true. But that's on us, right? We need to also engage more, and that's what we are trying. But also, it doesn't stop with engineering. We have really cool internships here in marketing, in sales.
What's the right kind of, so there's a college kid out here who sees this clip. What's the right kind of person that you're looking for to come work with the Hoosier Racing team?
Be curious, be competitive, like we all are here. Passionate and performance focused.
Performance, again, right back to the roots. You can't forget performance. And then what's an experience as an intern for Hoosier Racing Tire? What does that look like?
We have a lot of different departments, a lot of different areas that someone could come into, but I can tell you they'll get a real deep end of the pool indoctrination into motorsports. No matter what department they're in, they're going to realize the passion that we see here in Indiana. They're going to see that right from the outset, and we try to have them walk away with having learned something and experience something.
Yeah, especially in 3 months, 2 months in the summer.
Yeah, what we do right now is we obviously have interns in the labs. We have interns in R&D and manufacturing. But also over here in Lakeville, we have our logistics departments here, the warehouses here, the track service team is here, and Paul's team, sales, and the whole executives mostly are here. We're doing AI now. We're looking into AI stuff to understand our market better. We're looking into AI to improve our customer service. We are looking into we have a lot of business intelligence, trying to understand.
So like software engineers.
Software, data science. We have to understand our market because we're very big in the market, and if you're servicing 1,200 racetracks, there's a lot of data you have to process.
Yeah, like even the data, like I'm sure you guys have it, but it's like how many revolutions does a tire go before you're like, oh, you need to switch that out?
Oh, we can tell you a consumption factor by the digit per track. We compute that. We know the average consumption rate in a certain race class. We do forecasting based on those models, but we need to tweak them all the time. So there's a lot of stuff going into that.
Like that's a stereotype that the more conversations I have with racing, the more it's like, the stereotype is like, oh, racing, it's just a bunch of like hillbillies out there like running around the track or whatever. There's so much science. There's so much data. Like, it just blows my mind. I mean, I've talked to some of the IndyCar teams. Any level of racing, the math, the amount of mathematicians and data scientists that go into like that shave milliseconds off of time.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
crazy.
Absolutely.
So, moms, dads, if you're listening out there and you have a kid who maybe watched Drive to Survive or any of these racing shows and really loved it, wants to pursue a career in motorsports, gotta hit up our friends at Hoosier Racing Tire.
Yeah.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
kind of coming to the end, and we're wrapping up our time here. One, thank you so much for sharing. I think that like a lot of what the show is we uncover these stories and hidden gems of things that everyone in the state of Indiana needs to know about. And I think that Hoosier Racing Tire, especially coolest thing made in Indiana in 2023, making global impact from right here in Plymouth and Lakeville, it's incredible to me. But as we kind of wrap up the show, we always ask the same 3 questions to all of our guests. We'll start here with Paul, and then we'll go here, and then boom, 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 back and forth. So, Paul, what's one thing the world needs to know about Indiana?
That it is a great place to live, and it's a great place to raise your family. It's where I've raised my family. 3 kids that attended Purdue University.
Boilers.
You know, it is just a great place with a lot of resources that are really unexpected when you think about Indiana. I mean, it has everything from big city to small life. So to me, that's my takeaway of Indiana.
All right, you're not from here originally, but you're Hoosier by choice.
Yep, I choose to come here. I wasn't born here, so I don't have to like it, right?
Having such a global perspective, what's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
I mean, I can only confirm what Paul said. It's a totally livable place. You won't be missing anything. So at least we're very happy here. I mean, I've lived in many different places in the world, and I'm raising my kids here now for the last 5 years. I have 2 kids, one in high school and one is now approaching middle school. They like it. I think it's a great place to live. Like I said earlier, the weather is, in my opinion, a little bit better than Germany. So hang on.
Take that, come on.
But I lived in Charlotte for 7 years. So I think coming from Charlotte, I went like Indiana. I don't know. There's a lot of cornfields, and it's usually cold and rainy. And but I have to say, I'm here, and I have no plans to leave. So no, I like it here, and I think. Everybody needs to know. Come here, check it out. Indiana has a lot to offer.
That's the secret.
The other thing I would add for Indiana that a lot of people don't realize is we have some of the best affordable golf in the country.
Golf?
There's no question. You know, I've golfed all around, and when you talk about affordability and quality, Indiana stands out.
Where are your, if you had to give some recommendations, where do you love playing?
Well, I mean, if you go to the course at the Brickyard, it's pretty fun.
I'm playing on the 23rd.
It's pretty fun.
About that.
But you could go right down the list. I mean, there's just so many different courses
Have
that
you
are
played
just.
Should Die?
No.
You want to give people that love the state of Indiana? I went down for the Corn Ferry Tour Championship in French Lick. I got to the top of the Pete Dye course and just like looked out and you can see for miles.
It's
in every
spectacular.
direction. And I'm just like, this is the state that I live in. Like, this just doesn't look the same. And like all that whole portion of southern Indiana, like there's just such like diverse terrain across the state, which is pretty cool.
That's very true because some people who never been to Indiana, they think of it as Kansas. They think of it as being just flat, wide open, and it's not. You know, when you get to southern Indiana, I mean, you look at Brown County, and it's incredible the amount of terrain elevation differences and. Yeah, so there's a lot of special things about it.
Heck yeah. All right, second question that we have, start here. What is a hidden gem in Indiana?
To the Indiana Dunes on the Lake Michigan. So most people always go, Lake Michigan is not Indiana, but it is. And it's a beautiful place, and our dog loves it there. And every time we drove by the Indiana Dunes National Park, that's a good place to take your dog for a swim in Lake Michigan. So that's one.
There are a lot of miles of Lake Michigan shoreline that are on the Indiana side that people forget about.
Right,
Oh,
totally.
No question.
I didn't know there was a port, actually.
Yeah.
It's a seaport, even. I didn't know that you can ship containers to it.
Look at that. Global logistics right
Yep,
here.
there you
Lake
go.
Michigan. Paul, what's a hidden gem in Indiana?
I mean, I don't know how many people realize the Studebaker Museum. is here in South
Good point.
Bend.
See, that's on my list
Talk
too.
to us about that. What's the Studebaker?
I mean, Studebaker they were manufactured here in South Bend for decades, and I think they closed in the late 60s maybe, somewhere in there.
How significant of an auto manufacturer was Studebaker?
I don't know. Their cars are iconic, and that museum, they go from the wagon all the way up through, you know, their last vehicle. So it's really cool.
Wait, Studebaker made a legit wagon?
Yeah, so the Oliver Plow Works, I think, was the original. You know, the Oliver, they made wagons, and then Studebaker
Well, and
automobile.
they're like redeveloping the old Studebaker campus or whatever too, right? Like there's a lot of work being done all around that area where the museum is.
Well, downtown South Bend has a lot
Yeah.
of work. I mean, when you talk about the South Bend Cubs, they're here.
Yeah.
And everything that Andrew Berlin, I think is his name, the owner, he's doing, they're now renovating and adding to the South Bend Cubs facility there. They're adding another deck, I think.
Yep.
But all that around that area has been really, really explosive.
That's
So
awesome.
South Bend itself has a lot going for it.
Amazing.
Outside of just Notre Dame.
Outside, there's a ton of cool stuff going on. I saw that there's like a huge concert/comedy show coming to South Bend this fall. It's like Zach Bryan and Shane Gillis. And it's like the most weird show that I'm really excited to see how they pull it off in this like massive stadium. It'll be really fun. So I'm going to come back up to South Bend for that. Final question that we ask everyone. We're start Paul. Who's someone in Indiana that we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
The owner of the South Bend Cubs.
Andrew Berlin.
He's someone who would make a very interesting interview. I know he's 1 to 2 or has tried to get major league ownership before, and maybe is still interested in that. Doing a lot of revitalization of South Bend. So I think he'd be a real interesting interview. Raleigh Helmling, he's part of the Development Commission of Indiana for Businesses. Helped us a great deal. He used to be president of USAC. Really interesting guy he's owned USAC teams. So he operated Jeff Gordon's team when he was part of USAC growing up, coming through the ranks. Really, really fascinating. He's involved with the PRI show. So you understand the largest motorsports trade show is held in Indianapolis every year in
PRI?
December.
Yeah.
The
You guys were just down
performance-
for that,
The
right?
Performance Racing Industry Show is,
You need to
is
come
a
see us there.
phenomenal show.
Yes.
And we have a huge presence there
Really?
as well. So,
How many people come for PRI?
but it has a multi-million-dollar impact on Indianapolis every
Oh yeah,
year.
it's big.
40,000 attendees from all 50 states and 70 countries.
There you go.
Holy smokes. PRI. You guys have an awesome booth there this year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
we doubled our footprint actually.
Holy.
We have like, I want to
Did
say,
Indianapolis take care of you, the host city?
Indianapolis does a great job. Yeah,
Yeah.
they always work well with us. The PRI, and they're owned by SEMA. You know, all of the people involved with that are fantastic to work with.
Heck yeah.
and you will see a lot of purple there. We have like probably 50 people out there in purple shirts.
I know.
Yeah, all of them. We
Guys,
bring all
right.
our distributors in to work and be a part of that. We coordinate with we have an annual distributor meeting
At
here.
least 50.
Yeah.
That was even lowballing it.
All right, so I need one of those vintage purple jackets, and I'll show up. It'll be December, so it'll be perfect time to wear one of
There you
those.
go.
And I'll have the fit on. Oh my gosh! And then, yeah, we'll take you guys. I have really good friends with St. Elmo. They're like huge partners of
Yeah.
mine, so we can get some shrimp cocktail, racing tires, do the whole
There you
two
go.
iconic Indiana brands, baby. Let's go.
You should come. We have a new program. We didn't talk about the Hoosier Hero program. Have you heard about the
No,
Hoosier
what's
Heroes?
Hoosier Hero?
It's a program we basically created to leverage a little bit our access to winning. Like we said, like we create champions on 1,200 tracks every weekend, and we don't do much with it. So we went like we create so many champions, so many heroes out there. Let's do something with them. So it's a fan-based program that we call the Hoosier Heroes. They are basically our influential crowd now, and we
Brand ambassadors.
brand ambassadors, and it's become a thing. We started out with hero cards. We do hero cards, but we were like, wait, there's more than that. So meanwhile, this is the 3rd year we're doing it. And the 2nd time that we had a hero reception. They had a blast. They were so proud to be there, and it's by nomination. Braden, so he was so cute. He gave the coolest interviews. He was like a little kid. Yes, that guy.
2021 NCQA
That guy-
Rookie of the Year.
That guy came on stage, gave interviews.
35 feature wins in the NASCAR Youth
Yep,
Series.
yep.
Dude,
Yep.
this guy's legit.
Right, and so that's a cool program for you if you want to join us. because we need people like you, because we want media votes as well. And
That's our thing.
And exactly, we have some industry votes, so we have a panel, we have a jury, and we have that reception where everybody shows. Even last year's class and the year before shows up, right? So that,
Heck yeah. Well, this year in December, I'll have to come stop by and see all the cool stuff you guys
right?
are doing.
We'll
Hey,
make sure we put you on our list.
Please do. I appreciate you guys making the time to sit down and talk to me about the amazing history of Hoosier Racing Tire, from Bob and Joyce back in the 1950s up to 1978. Then like really diving into the tire business here in Plymouth and Lakeville, the growth, the acquisition in 2016 to you coming aboard in 2020,
Yep.
5 years now, and like all the cool stuff, especially as you continue to innovate. I just think it's incredible. It's cool to see. It's cool to see Hoosiers doing big thing, and it's cool to see Hoosier doing big thing, right? Big things. So I appreciate you guys. Keep up the great work. If people want to learn more about Hoosier Racing Tire, connect with you guys, social media, all the stuff,
Sure.
where can they find you at?
Almost everywhere. We're on TikTok, Twitter, X, I should say.
There you go.
Facebook,
HoosierTire.com.
HoosierTire.com. There it is.
Instagram, right? We're
Yeah,
everywhere.
They're easy to find.
Yeah.
You can find them. Seriously, moms, dads, if you have a son or daughter that's interested in getting into motorsports, that could be a great segue to go and learn. Spend a summer learning all there is to know about motorsports. I love it.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for the time, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Get In. If you like what you heard, make sure you leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all my gear recommendations at sweetwater.com. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.